בראש השנה ייכתבון, וביום Som Kippur ייחתמון. Hi, I'm Doug Workman, and that's the beginning of the most recognizable portion of the Unatana Tokef prayer. On Rosh Hashanah it is written, and on Yom Kippur it is sealed, who shall live and who shall die. But prayer, repentance, and acts of charity avert the severity of the decree. If you apply a literal reading to this most famous of holiday prayers, you cannot help but conclude that it's nothing but medieval gobbledygook. Our destinies for next year are predetermined by God, but somehow repentance, prayer, and acts of charity will mitigate that predetermined destiny? What does that mean? If I throw a few more ducats into a tzedakah box, would someone that would have otherwise died have lived? Would a few more times at shul reciting a prayer by rote have altered the outcome? Ours is a tradition that begs for interpretation, and for this prayer to have any meaning for me, I need to put a spin on it which is almost 180 degrees from its literal meaning. I've learned from humanistic, rational, and compassionate teachers, i.e. Rabbis Schulweis and Feinstein, to interpret the prayer as an acknowledgement of the inevitability of death, that everyone is mortal and at some point must face that mortality. And if mortality becomes the foundational element of prayer, then the emphasis on repentance, prayer, and charity become the choices we make with the finite time we may have on this earth. Perhaps those choices would include more acts of caring for someone less fortunate. We can call that tzedakah. Maybe we should be more forgiving of others, and even more importantly, ourselves, and sincerely work at making ourselves into better people. Let's call that one tshuva. And finally, if we take some time each week to acknowledge the orderliness of creation and of a creator that has taught humanity morality, compassion, and justice, let's call that one tefillah. Now there's an interpretation of what is otherwise a problematic prayer in which I can believe. And yet, I have encountered these moments of life and death all on Rosh Hashanah. Who shall die? In 1990, I went to New York to spend Rosh Hashanah with my father. He prepared a holiday meal and left the kitchen for my brother and I to clean up. After that happened, we found him in the den lying passed out. We had to call 911 and get him to a hospital. He fought us about going to the hospital because he was pretty much aware that once he went in, he was never going to come out. And he never did. Who shall live? 7 years later, it was Rosh Hashanah 1997, and I had a very pregnant wife who was scheduled to deliver a child by C-section a few days after Rosh Hashanah. The Yiddish phrase, der Mensch plagt und Gott lacht, man plans, God laughs. She went into premature labor right on Rosh Hashanah, and lo and behold, we witnessed the birth of our child on Rosh Hashanah. Lindsay Workman was born that day, named for my father, whose death kind of began on Rosh Hashanah, Leonard Workman. So I've experienced these moments of great joy and sorrow. And for me, Rosh Hashanah afterwards has been mostly anticlimactic. It's never going to be as high as the birth of my child, and it's never going to be as low as witnessing what happened to my father. Nevertheless, I still have to make choices about what I'm going to do in life. And with those choices, it's just teshuvah, tefillah, and tzedakah. From my family to yours, we wish all of you a Lashana Tova Tikateva.